to Tips of the Trade, a channel where I give tips and advice on all things entertainment industry. Have you been wondering if you should be dishing up your hard-earned cash for these pay-to-play casting director workshops? Maybe you've gotten some conflicting advice or opinions on this topic and you're wondering if this is something that's right for you. Well, today's do's and don'ts video should be giving you a little bit of guidance as to whether this is the right thing for you in your career. So let's get into it. Now, this is sort of a controversial subject because a few years ago, the whole casting director workshop industry was under scrutiny for being sort of shady, and it was being investigated for being unlawful and promising actors things that they couldn't really deliver on. And it became a whole big mess. Well, as you can see, there are still casting director workshops in all of the major markets, New York, LA, Atlanta, even in Boston. You can still find these kinds of workshops. So what's the deal? Should you do them or not? So here are some do's and don'ts, and hopefully this will help you to decide if doing a casting director workshop is right for you. Do casting director workshops if you're brand new to a market and you really want to get to know some casting directors, how these casting directors operate, how they run their auditions, if you just sort of want to get a little information on how everyone is working in your new market. This is especially useful if maybe you don't have an agent yet or a manager and you're doing submissions on your own and you just want the opportunity to meet some casting directors, get your name out there and sort of be on the scene. This could be a good way to do it. Don't do the casting directors if you do have an amazing agent or manager who's already getting you into every single room. Now, this is just my opinion. Obviously, you can make your own decision as to whether it's worth it for you to spend money to meet a casting director, but in my opinion, if you're getting into every room in your market and having a lot of auditions and meeting a lot of casting directors through your team, I would say maybe save your money on the casting director workshop. It's just a stronger representation of yourself to go and meet the casting directors through that avenue. Do casting director workshops if you have the money and you're okay with making an investment on something that may or may not ever pan out into anything major. So I think the point of the casting director workshops now is they are educational. This is just a way for you to learn how the casting director operates, their likes, dislikes, things that they want to see when they have an actor in their audition room, and for you to get a little feedback on your scene or monologue or whatever you're doing in the workshop. Of course, that kind of information is valuable, but it may not ever turn into an audition. So if that information that you're getting from the casting director is valuable enough to spend the money on the workshop, then I say go for it. If you have the cash, obviously you write it off at the end of the year. This is part of your education as an actor. Go for it. Don't do a casting director workshop if you really can't afford it. Let's say you are brand new to one of these major markets. New York and Los Angeles are two of the most expensive places to live in the entire country. So allow yourself to get on your feet a little bit. Casting director workshops are not the end-all be-all of your career. If you have a little bit of money to play with at this point in your life, no matter where you are, you might want to spend that money on something that's going to be a little bit more substantial, something that is really, really necessary for your career. Maybe you need new headshots. Maybe you need to have somebody edit a reel for you. These real things that you need in your trade in order to be submitted. Casting director workshops are sort of extra. It's like if you can gather a little information, then great. And from what I can tell, the casting director workshop thing is going to be sticking around for a while. So they'll still be there when you do have the cash to spend. Don't make yourself broke just to go to these casting director workshops. Do go to a casting director workshop if you have targeted a specific casting director because of the shows that they're casting. If you think that you are absolutely right for this show, this is your perfect situation, you know you're exactly what this casting director is looking for, or at least in your mind. Don't expect that you're going to get an audition out of doing the workshop. Yes, that may happen, or it may not happen. But what I think is really valuable about going to a workshop to a casting director that you hope to eventually audition for is just gathering intel. How does this casting director work? What is their demeanor? What are the things that they're looking for when somebody walks into the room? And of course, you're going to do a scene for them. So what is their feedback? All of this information can really, really help you to be super prepared for that time when you do get into the room. Maybe your agent or manager has been submitting you because you know the show is a perfect show for you. You're very right for it. So it can be a really great way to get yourself really super prepared for that show that you know you're right for. Don't do a casting director workshop if you've already gone in an audition for the casting director. Now again, this is something that you may want to be flexible with, but in my opinion, you have already established what you would get if you paid money for a casting director workshop. The whole point of the workshop is to just understand how this casting director works. If you've been in their room, then now you know how that casting director works. But I get it. Maybe you had an audition for a co-star, you only had 2 lines, and you really didn't feel like you had the opportunity to show everything you got, and you're hoping that if you do a workshop with them, you can show them how fantastic you are and eventually get another audition. Like I said before, that may or may not happen. So do you really want to spend the money and re-meet someone that you've already met? If you want to continue a relationship with that casting director, there are ways for you to do it. You've been in their room, send them a thank you note. Send them postcards when you're doing things. Send that person your marketing materials. There are ways to stay in that person's mind in a positive way other than re-meeting them and spending money on a workshop. So those are my do's and don'ts for casting director workshops. I hope that helped. If you have any questions, comment below. If there are any other burning questions on this topic that I didn't answer, obviously comment. Maybe I can make another video and clear some things up. And if this is something that you're into, subscribe to my channel, share this video with your friends, and I'll see you next time.